All right, so let's talk about reflexive verbs. Um, Reflexive verbs are verbs that the subject of the verb is also the object. So when I'm doing something to myself, that is a reflexive verb. You're doing something to yourself, he's doing something to himself, whatever. How you know it's a reflexive verb, the verb subject is acting on itself, just like I said, and it ends in se. So, caerse, afeitarse, arreglarse, ponerse, all those words. And a lot of these, especially that we're using, are going to be like the things you do to get ready for school. That's what we're doing, at least in this chapter. Reflexive verbs require the use of reflexive pronouns, which are coming up apparently on the next slide. So an example of a reflexive verb is Pedro se lava. He's washing himself. He is both the subject and the object. Pronouns usually come before the verb. We'll talk about that in a second. The reflexive pronouns are me, te, se, nos, os, and se. Notice that these two are the exact same. When you conjugate the verb, the reflexive verbs, basically I kind of conjugate them twice. So by that I mean, all right, so by that I mean I'm going to remove the end part of the verb. It's always going to say, that's kind of the default one. And I'm going to move that to the front of the verb. And I'm going to conjugate it. What I mean by that is, go back to these reflexive pronouns here. If I'm the subject, then I'm going to change the se, that's the default, to me. If you're the subject, then I'm going to change the default se to te. That's what I mean by that. Then I'm going to just conjugate the verb like I would always do. So that's the second part here. Choose the correct reflexive pronoun, and I did that before the verb. And then I want to know who is doing it. So I'm going to conjugate the verb. Who is performing the action? In Spanish, you use the infinitive after a preposition, even if an infinitive is not used in English. Here's some prepositions, like antes de. That's a big one that you use all the time. Para is a preposition. So when you see stuff like that, you want to make sure that you leave it in the infinitive form. And when you do it in the infinitive form, you're going to leave the verb as it is with the say at the end, but you're just going to change that say to whatever thing is, whatever pronoun is used there. So right here you can see that me or yo is the subject. I know that because cepillo ends in an O, that's the yo form, and me, I'm brushing my teeth, right? So I'm brushing my teeth before I get into bed. So obviously it's still going to be me. All right, so let's practice. How would I translate this one? How would I conjugate that one? Yo me ducho. Next one, mi familia. A lot of people get confused by mi familia. Y'all think that that means my family. Well, that includes me, so it's a nosotros. But I'm literally talking about my family. And I might be included, but if I think of it as just a word, does that word include the word yo? Does it include the word nosotros? No, it doesn't. So it's just a singular word without an S. So that's going to be se acuesta. Maria se viste. That's a stem changing verb. This is actually also a stem changing verb. Mis amigas y yo nos pintamos las uñas para la boda. And again, you'll remember I talked about this today in class. I'm painting, or we're painting our nails. We don't change las to nuestras. It's going to stay las. It's just the way it works with the reflexive verbs. All right, Fernando se cepilla el pelo. Again, el pelo, not su pelo. All right, yo siempre me despierto. Cada mes tú te cortas. María tiene que. Tiene que means what? It means has to. So she has to, and that's a preposition right there. So she has to, and then it's going to stay in the infinitive. So lavar, and then is it going to be me, te, or se, or nos, os, or se? It's going to be se from the left-hand side of the chart because it's just one singular person. So María tiene que lavarse las manos antes de comer. That one didn't change. Mi hermana se seca el pelo con un secador. Again, this is just a little bit more of the same thing. It's just showing you, en Pedro se lava, the reflexive pronoun se comes before the verb because it's just a normal sentence. He washes himself. If I'm using it with an infinitive, it would be lavarse. And it's going to stay se because Pedro is my subject, and that's not me or not you or not nosotros. All right, how would you say, do you prefer to bathe or shower? ¿Prefieres bañarte o ducharte? Because I have a conjugated verb, the other two are going to stay in the infinitive. But since I'm talking to you, and that's my prefieres, then it's going to end in te instead of se. María se viste rápidamente. I wash my hair each morning. Me lavo el pelo cada mañana. And that's actually a mistake I need to fix. And then I go to bed early when I'm tired. Me acuesto temprano cuando tengo sueño. All right, that's the end of that.